Well, from wherever you're watching us, good evening and thank you for joining us here on Prime Edition, coming to you live from Broadcasting House. Good evening, I am Mboya. We start off with our lead stories tonight. Government scorecard. It's an above-average performance for President William Ruto as Kenya Kwanza administration clocks 1 year in office. Upsetting the apple cart. Doctors announced bi-weekly protests ahead of scheduled December strike over what they term dishonored CBA. Plus, exit the old ID, enter Maisha number. Inside, government's ambitious plans to launch new digital ID later on this month. Many thanks indeed for joining us on socials at KBC Channel 1, our sign language interpreter, Anne Wangeshi. Straight to our top story, President William Ruto's overall performance in the first year in office has been rated as above average at 55%, according to the survey by research firm Infotrack, and which was conducted between August the 23rd and September the 10th of this year. The Ministry of Interior was voted the best, performing at 59%. However, close to half of Kenyans believe that the country is headed in the wrong direction. Timothy Kipnusu, I beg your pardon, opens our coverage tonight with that report.
Infotrack Chief Executive Officer Angela Ambitho says the survey covered all the 47 counties in 8 regions of Kenya. President William Ruto performance was rated at 55%, which according to the report is a seaplane.
Outside all those things that, would be issues that are within the various, manifesto and documents that we expect government to deal with, is the issue of corruption. So corruption has actually come up again.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Professor Kithure Kindiki was rated the best among the cabinet secretaries, receiving an overall performance rating of 59%, followed by his education counterpart Ezekiel Machogu, who received a rating of 55%, while Health Cabinet Secretary Susan Nahumicha was ranked third with a percentage of 53%. Transport Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen tied for fourth place with his agriculture counterpart Mithika Linturi at 53%. However, a section of Kenyans say the Kenya Kwanza administration was heading to the wrong direction. Kenyans cited high cost of living, unemployment, and quality of education as the key issues of concern.
The other thing that is, a key issue of concern is agriculture, because it's linked to food security. And whilst we have been given many promises on the cost of unga, cost of, dry foods, cost of sugar, we all know how much we're spending when we go to the shops and retail outlets to buy many of these.
A sample size of 4,000 respondents was interviewed. Timothy Kipnusu for Prime Edition.
The Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union, KMPDU, now says doctors across the country will go on strike from December if the government fails to honor their collective bargaining agreement, marching to Afya House and the Council of Governor's Office, where they presented petitions. The union's Secretary General, Dr. Davji Atela, noted that the intent of notice expires on December, after which they will issue a strike notice. Zainab Said reports.
As the country gears towards the launch of universal health coverage in October, a looming strike that could ruin the ambitious plan is beckoning. Led by their Secretary General, Dr. Davji Atela, the medics who marched to Afya House and to the Council of Governor's Office to submit petitions want, among others, challenges of unemployment and underemployment of doctors, poor working and healthcare system addressed.
We have seen dehumanizing contracts being signed across the country, particularly by county government of Embu, Nakuru and Kenyatta National Hospital, that we have rebooked and even taken them to court. So these are things that we have given up to the county and the national government to implement.
Even as they give room for talks with stakeholders, The union says it will hold peaceful demonstrations after every 2 weeks before downing their tools if nothing is done by December.
We may have given them time last year because that was requested, but they should not read that or see it as a sign of weakness. The things that we are demanding are very clear and are very simple and are the basic rights of every health worker.
Health Cabinet Secretary Susan Nahumicha, while receiving the petition from the doctors, urged them to give room for dialogue.
I want to agree with you that the status of health in this country needs improvement. That is a fact. That the issues that you have raised here are statements of fact. We are on the same page. So what you need to do is to allow us to go through these petitions. And you know that the stakeholders of healthcare is not just the Ministry of Health. We have many other stakeholders that I have to avail this document to. Then we come to a table, sit and discuss and provide a solution.
The same sentiments were echoed by the Council of Governors, which says plans were underway to honor the doctors' demand.
At this point in time, a salary increase, which even for us, that which had been given was frozen for the year until the economy improves, I think is really not very sensitive. That's why I said be a little bit more sensitive. And we would urge you to be a little bit more patient like the rest of Kenyans. Many Kenyans are struggling at this point in time, and we are working very hard night and day to see what it is that we can do to ease that burden.
For Prime Edition, I'm Zainab Said.
Now the government will launch the National Digital Identity Card later on this month, setting the stage for Kenyans to be issued with a single unique identity number to access government services. Immigration and Citizen Services Principal Secretary Professor Julius Bitok says the rollout of the card dubbed Maisha Number is set for the 29th of this month. At the same time, Bitok says that the cards will have a unique personal identifier that will ease the process of accessing various government services. Here's that report.
Speaking during a status update by the Principal Secretary Subcommittee working on the rollout of the National Digital Identity Cards, Immigration and Citizen Services Principal Secretary Professor Julius Bitok revealed the government will be launching 4 related products in line with the presidential directive to create digital IDs later this month.
We expect His Excellency to launch it on the 29th of September this year, which is coming in about 3 weeks' time. And as you are aware, His Excellency gave a directive that within 90 days, I want this project to be implemented. So we are following a directive.
The 4 items are Maisha Number, which will be a unique personal number assigned to each individual, and that will be the personal identity number from birth to death. Bitok stating that the Maisha Number will be the integral to the Kenyan digital ID.
We have a new project called Maisha Number, and it is a UPI, unique personal identifier. And that number, when someone is given that number at birth, that is the same number which will be their school identification number, it will be their university identification number, it will be their ID number when they turn 18, it will be their PIN number for KRA, it will be their number all through their lifetime. Until when they die, it becomes their death certificate number.
Other items accompanying the digital ID are Maisha Card, a document that will bear the Maisha Number and replacing the second generation ID card.
We've come a long way. We are happy that we are where we are. Digital transformation will take our country to the next level. So we are happy with the progress so far.
This is a great moment for this country when we talk about effective and efficient service delivery.
Also a national master population register that consolidates existing and independent databases into a single integrated register of data on Kenyans and foreigners residents in the country.
Public officers demanding bribes, by the way, from civilians in order to offer services have now been put on notice. That would also involve administrative consequences if continue. Interior Cabinet Secretary Professor Kithure Kindiki said that any rogue public servant will be prosecuted in accordance with the law. Kindiki spoke Monday when he operationalized Elangata Was sub-county alongside the installation of the first deputy county commissioner and the sub-county headquarters.
During the installation of the first Deputy County Commissioner and commissioning of Elangatawa Sub-County in Kajiado County, Interior Cabinet Secretary Professor Kithure Kindiki took time to commend public officers who serve with diligence, patriotism and dedication.
Na ndiposa nawavulia kofia wale wote ambao mnafanya kazi ya usalama. Ni kazi ngumu sana. Wakati kila mtu ameenda kulala, sisi macho yetu iko wazi.
He, however, cautioned those who take advantage of citizens' innocence to milk money from them in exchange of government services.
Huyo mwananchi hana mbele hana nyuma. Ni mama, labda ni mjane, labda ni mtoto yatima, labda ni kijana wa bodaboda. Na wewe mtu mzima, afisa wa serikali, uko pale, uko barabarani pale na unanyanyasa mwananchi. And where there is a government fees to be charged, it must be fees which is gazetted and fees which is paid as a tax to the treasury of the Republic of Kenya.
Citizens are further being called upon to cooperate with government officers in the execution of their mandate. Isufar reporting for Prime Edition.
Political Parties Tribunal has temporarily halted the decision of Orange Democratic Movement ODM to expel Kisumu Senator Tom Ojenda, Members of Parliament Elisha Odhiambo from GIM and Felix Jalango Odiwor, the Langata Member of Parliament, from the party. The order by the tribunal will remain in force until the hearing of the dispute is heard before it.
The interim orders will be in place pending hearing and determination of the dispute of ODM's top organ. The aggrieved politicians were expelled for violating the party's constitution by associating with UDA. Senator Ojenda of Kisumu, MPs Elisha Odhiambo of GEM and Felix Jalango of Langata were shown the door last Wednesday alongside other legislators, Carol Omondi of Suba South and Gideon Ochanda of Bondo. They were accused of violating ODM's constitution and the Political Parties Act 2011 by openly associating with and supporting activities of a rival political outfit, as well as opposing lawful decisions made by party organs. The matter has been set for mention on September 25th. Elsewhere, the 63 billion shillings Aror and Kimorer Dams case against former Finance Cabinet Secretary Henry Rotich is on the verge of collapsing following failure by the DPP to lead evidence from witnesses. In a turn of events, State Prosecutor Geoffrey Obiri on Tuesday presented 5 witnesses: Boniface Mamboleo, Festus Kivisu, Maina Kiondo, Benedict Omondi, and Kimani Kiiru, whom he did not ask a single question regarding the case. Michael Mondiga for Prime Edition.
Women have been challenged to take more active roles in negotiating for better pay in their workspaces. The United Nations Women Deputy Regional Director Anna Mutavati acknowledges that there is need to empower women to have these conversations to bridge the gender pay gap. She made the remarks during the launch of the report by UN Women dubbed Why Women Earn Less.
The UN Women East and Southern Africa report conducted between 2017 to 2022 by UN Women Global indicates that women earn 81 cents less for every $1 earned by men monthly for the same amount of work. This translates to women earning 82 shillings compared to the male counterparts at 100 shillings in the 2 regions.
We need to see how the numbers look like in our regions to take this forward, to advocate for policymakers, to advocate in the private sector, in civil society, with the media, within all spheres, to actually close the gender pay gap.
The survey that covered 10 countries, including Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Ethiopia, Mozambique, Namibia, Rwanda, Mauritius, Malawi, and South Africa, indicate that women are paid 53% lower in domestic work, 25% and 6.7% lower in education, health, and social work, respectively, compared to men.
It could be a reflection of the value that society puts on women's work overall. where that even when men come into a feminized sector or a feminized occupation, they tend to get paid more than men. It is an issue because these are sectors where even women's work is not valued, but men's work is valued more.
With age, education, marital status, and type of job used as a factor to determine the pay, women are being called upon to embrace higher paying courses to bridge the gender pay gap.
How do we also promote learning of STEM sciences and courses, technology by young women so that we start closing that gap in terms of higher paying jobs?
Doreen Arange for Prime Edition.
Renowned televangelist Dr. Rodney Brown has called for peace and coexistence among Kenyans as he underscored the need for political tolerance in the country. Speaking at the Nyayo National Stadium in Nairobi, Kenya, during a prayer meeting, Dr. Brown called on religious as well as political leadership to steer the nation in a way that will promote unity. The event was graced by, among others, First Lady Rachel Ruto.
When we landed here, we really wept, and so blessed to be in Kenya. And I tell everybody, as I landed here, I said, I'm now a Kenyan. When I leave here, obviously, I won't be, but while I'm here, I'm a Kenyan. And I want to tell you how much Jesus loves you. He loves you so much. And maybe you're watching, you don't know him, but you can say, come, make yourself real to me. Show yourself to me, Jesus. If you're real, I'll serve you all the days of my life.
The government is set to roll out the implementation of the blank tip levy from the 15th of this month. The kitty plans to collect 6 billion shillings every year, which will be shared among the artists. More of this in our county's wrap.
According to the Music Copyright Society of Kenya CEO, Dr. Ezekiel Mutua, the levy is set to change the livelihoods of musicians in the country. Mutua further said the levy will be shared to musicians through their respective central management organizations.
You know, mobile phones, smartphones, telephones of any kind, television sets, radios and so on. Any gadget that can do private copying to ensure that they compensate or the musicians are compensated for any potential loss. And so blank tape levy is not a tax. I think that's important to explain. It is a levy. Levies go directly for the purpose they were established.
Meanwhile, Laikipia County Governor Joshua Irungu has announced the elevation of Rumuruti Hospital to Level 5 Sub-County Hospital in a move geared towards improving service delivery in the health sector.
Hamjaniambia kwamba mmekuwa mkiniambia kwa social media kuna madawa. Wengine hata wamenirushia tumawe 2-3 hivi na ni sawa na tumeshika hayo na madawa yatakuja.
In Meru County, the Task Force on Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes has kicked off public participation exercise on safeguarding information in the digital era.
We are adopting a lot of digitization, making use of technologies to enable our businesses to operate, both private, public, and even individuals. Therefore, we have identified cybersecurity as a major concern that's actually affecting the national economy as well as other cross-cutting issues.
So I believe it should be a responsibility now of the committee that has been mandated with this responsibility to ensure that everybody is sensitized on the proper usage of social media and all kind of cyberspace.
And amid ongoing debate among its Kenyans regarding the creation of more counties, Kitui Governor Julius Malombe has supported the creation of Mwingi County.
Mwingi North and Mwingi Central, both each has more than 143. Samburu has 310, that is Samburu County. Tharaka Nithi 393, slightly above Mwingi.
Finally, 19-year-old Brighton Owande could miss his university of choice after his former secondary school withheld his KCSE result slip. Owande claims the school management at Aboao Secondary School has refused to release his KCSE result slip of an outstanding fees balance of 77,000 shillings. He has been placed at Kenyatta University to pursue a Bachelor of Education of Arts course. For Prime Edition, I'm Gladys Mongai.
When I was enrolled, I told him every
I told him everything that I was going through. I told him that I was an orphan. I'm just urging the stakeholders to go through it and let me get my result slip so as to go on with my studies.
I'm still trying to internalize what happened there. But the Sudan's Comprehensive Peace Agreement of 2005 ended over 2 decades of civil war and led to South Sudan's independence. The war was finally ended when the Sudan People's Liberation Movement, SPLM, and the government of Sudan signed the Comprehensive Peace Agreement brokered by the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD, on January the 9th, 2005. Retired Warrant Officer 1, Linus Oduor, was among the gallant Kenyan soldiers who spent months in Sudan searching for the much-needed peace. He graces this week's edition of the Military Tales.
We meet 67-year-old retired Warrant Officer 1 Linus Oduor at his home in Sega, Ugenya, Siaya County. We sit down with this army veteran and father of 4, armed with his memoirs and memories. As a young man, Oduor was destined for priesthood and even joined St. Peter's Mukumu Seminary.
I schooled in a place called Sega Primary School. And during that time, I'd wished to become a priest. I joined the seminary. I started in Form 1 up to Form 4 in Mukumu, St. Peter's Seminary. After that one, I went to Tindinyo, which was a senior seminary. Just as you know, in priesthood, so many people are called, and you find that only few will be chosen to make it as a priest.
However, he later changed his mind and decided to follow in his father's footsteps, who was a soldier during the colonial era.
My father was also in the African King's Rifle. I think that also contributed towards my interest. And as I was in the school in Tindinyo, just a feeling came to me that now, let me change. So I decided to join the military. I went for the training.
Oduor would later join the Kenya Army in September of 1978 as a serviceman and was deployed at the 5 Kenya Rifles at the Department of Defense headquarters. He later studied accounts in the military and became an accountant and rose the ranks to become a warrant officer in the force.
I was in the clerical department, which was accounts. So that one I did it well, and then I became an accountant in the military, and I joined the salary section.
Nostalgically, Oduor moves from page to page of his photo album, a reminder of his days serving the nation, with the failed 1982 military coup d'etat still etched in his mind.
Just somewhere in the middle of the night, around 2 a.m. at night, you are woken up. You know, in the military, when something happened, you are woken up, everybody in the camp. We had to go and collect our guns, and then you assemble. You are assigned in various places, because it was announced that now the police want to relinquish their jobs, so military were taking charge of the town. You are put in various streets of Nairobi, so that was my experience during that time.
He singles out his first mission outside the country in 2005 when he joined the African Union Peace Mission in South Sudan amidst a ravaging drought as one of his most challenging assignments.
The Southern Sudan was in a mess. People were not doing their day-to-day duties. All the roads where you can walk, they were with mines. So death were around. You find some places you go, you find bones of people who had died. In their butchers, you find that they were eating monkeys because there were no food. People could not tilt their land. They could not do proper farming. So everything was in a problem. But from the time, because you are the first peacekeepers who landed in southern Sudan, the year 2005, after the comprehensive peace agreement that was done here in Nairobi. So from that time, the sign of peace started coming. And the presence of Kenyan military there actually brought some kind of relief to the national there.
He points out some of the reason for many military takeovers in Africa, blaming them on poor governance.
Constitution is not being followed to the latter, or just I've said bad politics. So such are the things that actually causing the coups in Africa. And it is scaring, it's not good. Because, and we are asking our politicians to make sure that they have good politics.
He lauds the military for instilling discipline, virtues, and determination in his life.
Military life is good, and you can't regret it because it teaches you a lot. There are so many things you learn there: discipline, how to conduct yourself even outside your military life.
Still energetic, Oduor, who retired in 2013, draws water from his well daily to water his ornamental flowers in his farm, which he sells to keep himself busy. He notes the importance of mental wellness for veterans who spend years on the battlefield and call for better welfare for uniformed officers.
Maybe the growth of remuneration, in case they want to look into it, the office will be able to look in those kind of our welfare.
Oduor has a passion for education and now engages in sourcing for scholarships for bright but needy students in Siaya.
I'm the chairman of COP, and I'm the COP delegate of Kenya Ugunja. COP delegate means I was chosen to be in charge of Ugenya and Ugunja circles. And this one, it gives us an upper hand to look for those children from the unfortunate families who are not able to pay for the children school fees.
As a parting shot, this veteran emphasizes the need for peace and mediation in any society to foster unity and cohesion. For Military Tales, I'm Ben Troinjo.
We take our first break on Prime Edition. We will be back shortly. Stay with us.
It's a cocktail of emotions. The puns that cracks up the family. Greed that yields power and a hunger for success. Friends turn to foes. Survival for the fittest is the drive.
Who are we blackmailing?
But nothing beats the feud in a family where one disappears and another fights for the crown.
It was not supposed to go this far.
It's the desire to succeed that keeps us going, the deception that keeps us digging, and the laughter pill that keeps us living.
Sergio, tell me, why did you give me an engagement ring? If you don't even want an engagement party.
There's something I need to tell you. Something about us.
What is it?
I just can't shut off my feelings.
You should at least have the courage to admit it to me. Why don't you just tell me straight out that you're meeting with Isabel at night? I asked you to stay away from her, Danielle. Well, I suppose she's no angel at all.
Tell me something, Mom. Has Isabel been seeing Danielle recently?
Welcome back to Prime Edition. After several months of collecting and analyzing Kenyans' submissions on the current education system, the Presidential Working Party on Education Reforms, among others, recommended the categorization of students into 3 levels according to their financial muscle. Unlike before, where all those joining institutions of higher learning received funds from the government, the new funding was modeled around depending on the level of financial support that students needed. The students were either to apply for loans, scholarship or grants, and with the categorization process ongoing, many feel that the process might not be favorable to many.
Esther Mora, just like thousands of parents of learners who have joined public universities in search of higher education under the new funding model, is uncertain of the government's financial support.
Wasiwasi wangu ni kwamba ningejua ni kiasi gani wananisaidia, sasa ningejua nitafanya bidii kiasi gani ndio ni raise hiyo pesa nyingine yenye imebaki huyu mtoto akae shule.
The mother of 3, a resident of Soweto in the Kibra constituency, says it's a question of if and not when, and his son's faith in the automated categorization system is close to 0.
Sidhani kama nitakuwa miongoni wa hao kama wanafuatilia mara wanasema wale wako vulnerable ni wale wenye wana asasi kabisa. Na sasa kitu kingine sijui serikali inaangalia nini. Ndi niweke malita niweka.
Though the second option of pulling resources from friends and family members is not promising, Mora says she cannot fathom the pain of his son missing out on his dream.
Ni mtoto tu, yani ako na bidii na anataka kusoma. Labda sisi wazazi tukikosa kumsupport tutakuwa tumemangusha.
Mora, just like many parents, is worried about the future of her son's education if he misses out on the funding.
Kutosoma kwake inamaanisha wenye anamfuata wataumia sana. Chukitambo tumsupporti miaka yake 4 ipite, huyu mwingine ako grade 6 anaenda kufanya mtihani. Itakuwa ngumu kuwasupport wote wawili na hatuna kazi. Wangetusupport tu hata kama ni 50%. Hii nyingine imebaki. Sisi kama wazazi tunaweza ngangana kivyetu.
New students who through government directive have already joined institutions they were placed in are also unsure of the end results.
The extension period for allocation of the funds is continue to be, it's extended every now and then, which means it takes a longer time to process the information so that the funds can be released and dispersed to the students.
A lot of us trying to cater for such fees is quite difficult, and it would really be a big help if the government tried to share the burden that we have so that we can continue with our learning.
We don't have like the estimated budget for the school fees or even for personal use because we are very heavily dependent on this help funding. Yeah, and we don't have like a backup plan for this. We are really depending on this help.
University students will receive funding in form of scholarships, grants and loans, with loans taking a bigger chunk across all levels. Students feel this will leave them with a huge debt at the end of their course.
In my course that I'm pursuing, if I am placed as a less needy, I will be having a loan by the end of my course year, a loan of like 760k, and not that guarantee I will be employed after my course.
The government would have worked towards increasing the scholarship or making the scholarship at least almost similar, at a similar percentage, and not burdening the less needy and the needy in terms of loan.
Amidst this uncertainty, the government maintains the new funding model is efficient, transparent, and will ensure inclusivity. Zainab Said for the Scorecard.
The provision of quality health care has been one of Kenya Kwanza's key priority areas in the journey towards the attainment of universal health coverage. Since assuming power, major reforms have been undertaken, including at the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority, in order to improve service delivery. Recently, the Cabinet also passed 4 health bills, among them the Primary Health Care Bill and the Social Health Insurance Bill 2023. Our reporter Nancy Okware takes a look at some of the key reforms in the health sector 1 year since Kenya Kwanza administration came into power.
Susan Nakumicha Wafula,
being appointed a Cabinet Secretary of Kenya.
On the 27th of October 2022, Susan Wafula Nakumicha was sworn in as the Cabinet Secretary for Health, taking over from Mutahi Kagwe. The Ministry of Health was at the time plagued by a number of challenges, including lack of basic medication in public facilities and corruption allegations at the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority, for instance, tendering of mosquito nets. In order to restore sanity, major changes were made at KEMSA, with the previous board disbanded and a new one chaired by Irongo Nyakera inaugurated on the 18th of May 2023.
We have individual culprits who taint the image of this institution. I will not stop at anything. Even if it means sending home a whole department, I am ready to deal with it.
Despite the changes, some public hospitals are still struggling. The Cabinet, while in Kakamega on the 29th of August 2023, considered and approved crucial bills that promote healthcare for transmission to Parliament. The bills are the Primary Healthcare Bill of 2023, the Digital Health Bill of 2023, the Facility Improvement Financing Bill of 2023, and the Social Health Insurance Bill of 2023. The bills are set to usher in a paradigm in the legal and institutional framework for healthcare in Kenya by repealing the current National Health Insurance Fund. In its place, the Primary Healthcare Fund, Social Health Insurance Fund, and Emergency, Chronic and Critical Illness Fund will be established if passed by Parliament.
For me, I feel that it is a diversifying and being all-inclusive. One thing that I'm not still appreciating in that bill is that the Kenyans have been complaining of the money we lose through corruption. There is no specific measures that have been proposed in that bill to ensure that we are not going to lose our money again through corrupt process.
On the other hand, the Digital Health Bill addresses the existing legal and regulatory gaps in the framework for the e-health ecosystem and its data life cycle, enabling the development of standards for the provision of mHealth, telemedicine and e-learning in healthcare.
Telemedicine is all the world is going, and we must be able to be there because the young people are interacting via virtually, and also the healthcare workers can be able to give them services or even connect them to the kind of services they need at that time, including referral system.
This new architecture is expected to provide a framework for improved health outcomes and financial protection of families. As part of efforts to shift from a curative to a preventive mode of caring for patients, the government is set to unveil 100,000 community health promoters on the 20th of October 2023 during the Mashujaa Day celebrations. These will help in decongesting hospitals as minor ailments can be identified and treated at the community level.
When you have a flu, you will be told that this is the level that you need to start. And if the community health promoter can handle, you don't need to go to hospital.
The Ministry of Health recently conducted a health facility census. The exercise was aimed at identifying the number of hospitals and the number of staff and equipment available, with a view to inform policy formulation to improve services.
The president, through his manifesto, had promised to employ healthcare workers more than 100,000. But he had focused the first year 20,000. And our worry is that we have not seen any fund allocated in terms of the budgetary allocation, those that can employ the healthcare workers.
Kaunti yetu kwa upande afya ni mzuri sana. Sasa tukipata hapo hospitali tunahudumia mzuri. Daktari wako sawa. Tunapata dawa mzuri.
Serikali wapeleke huduma huko mashinani, sub-counties, ndio wale wanaishi 300 miles and above waweze wapate huduma palipo huko walipo.
Watuletee kwa huduma, wananchi wawezi fika pale hospitali, labda mwingine anaweza toka mahali inaitwa Korome, mahali zingine huko Bokolo, na mtaji wa dawa ya kutumia hiyo kadi ya NHIF.
Despite the numerous reforms that have been made in the health sector, healthcare unions are still of the opinion that more still needs to be done to address the human resource aspect. Nancy Okware, the government scorecard.
The Office of the Attorney General has been in the spotlight, receiving criticism and praise in almost equal measure on legislative decisions. And as Kenya Kwanza administration clocks year one in office, Sarafina Robi examines some key legislative opinions by AG's office that have appeared to star the hornet's nest, such as the appointment of chief administrative secretaries that was later dismissed by the courts, and the passage of the Finance Act that found its way to the courts.
Justin Bidan Joka Muturi.
On the 27th of October 2022, a month after the president and his deputy was sworn into office, Attorney General Justin Bidan Joka Muturi took the oath of office effectively, becoming the government's principal legal advisor.
And that I will perform the functions of my office conscientiously and to the best of my ability.
Muturi, who had previously served as the 7th Speaker of the National Assembly for 2 terms, has been at the center of key legal decisions by the government. His office will find itself in the eye of the storm, following the appointment of 50 chief administrative secretaries declared unconstitutional by the High Court.
The second to the 51st interested parties is unconstitutional.
Legal pundits raised eyebrows as the Office of the Attorney General filed an appeal that remains a subject of court process. The AG's office would also find itself in a whirlwind as pressure piled on the government to seek a review of the Supreme Court ruling that okayed the registration and association of the LGBTQ community. The appeal is yet to be dispensed by the Apex Court. Other government decisions that required legal interpretation was the nomination of 4 government advisors to cabinet, namely UDA Party Secretary General Cleophas Malala, Monica Juma, National Security, David Ndie, Economic Affairs, and Harry Chigai, Women Affairs. This matter once again ended at the doorsteps of the courts. And the most recent legal quagmire was the approval of the Finance Act 2023 that birthed the housing levy, which found its way to court. His 7-page advisory on the composition of the Media Council of Kenya Board, MCK, warning against appointing media employees, public servants, and media association staff also sparked debate. The AG has also been hailed for advising the National Treasury to disburse CDF funds to constituencies and advising the government on the need for the Kenya Revenue Authority and Kenya Bureau of Standards to collaborate in disposing of condemned goods following the debacle of condemned sugar that was nicked out of a warehouse in Thika. He has also advised the government on the controversial WorldCoin that was operating illegally.
WorldCoin, the company does not appear in the BRS database of registered businesses or companies in Kenya.
Serafina Robin for the Government Scorecard.
The government plans to build 500,000 housing units by the year 2027, with the project being funded partly by Kenyans through the housing levy. What's the current state of the affordable housing plan? Here is Alan Aoko with the details.
The government plans to partner with counties and private sector to deliver the housing units. So far, some projects have been launched in Nairobi, Machakos, Mombasa, Nakuru, Kirinyaga, and Homa Bay counties.
We have 42,000 housing units coming up that we're going to be groundbreaking between now and end of December. The biggest one is in our site at Makongeni. You all know Makongeni. This is a beautiful piece of land in Eastlands, owned by Kenya Railway Pension.
Digitalization will remain a priority area of focus in the ministry's reform agenda. First order is the completion of and full deployment of the AdhiSasa platform as we put strategies in place for a nationwide rollout.
President William Ruto says the plan involves construction of at least 200 affordable housing units in each constituency. This is expected to create jobs and maintain a steady cash flow in the economy. According to the Housing Fund regulations, the applicable loan thresholds for each grade of the beneficiaries are social housing designated for monthly income earners earning between 0 to 14,999 shillings, up to 90% of the cost of the housing unit or 600,000 shillings, whichever is lower. Low-cost housing designated for those earning between 15,000 to 49,999 shillings, up to 80% of the cost of the housing unit, or 1.2 million shillings, whichever is lower. For those making between 50,000 to 149,999 shillings monthly, up to 70% of the cost of the housing unit, or 3 million shillings, whichever is lower.
Zile nyumba tutajenga hapa, 40% lazima iwe katika kiwango ambayo mwananchi ambaye anafanya hapa ziwani anaweza kugharimu ama anaweza kumudu kulipa rent ama kulipa mortgage.
However, the plan has also faced some challenges, such as legal disputes and budget constraints. The Ministry of Lands, Public Works, Housing and Urban Development says money collected from those registered under the Mboya portal is taken to a consolidated account and later used to pay developers who will have signed project agreements with the government and delivered the projects.
Watu wengi, karibu watu milioni 6 Kenya, wanaishi katika informal settlements, mahali inaitwa slums. Watu wanaishi mahali hakuna maji, hakuna barabara, hakuna choo, hakuna taa, mahali pachafu. Na ndio tumesema we must dignify the people of Kenya.
Some of the factors that determine the eligibility and allocation of a housing unit are one's family status and other social factors, the demand across various housing categories, and whether one has raised the requisite deposit. For one to qualify for the affordable housing unit, you need to be a Kenyan, have a valid national ID, and be an employee earning a minimum of 10,000 shillings per month. You should select your preferred housing unit type and location from the available options on the portal. You must wait for a lottery draw to determine if you are among the lucky beneficiaries of the housing units. To secure a housing unit, one will need to pay a 10% deposit of the total amount. Those who fail to secure a housing unit during the selection process are automatically put on a waiting list and are prioritized in the next selection.
Huu mpango wa affordable housing, Rais, wewe umeweka mkazo na umetilia ya kwamba ni jukumu lako kama rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya kuhakikisha ya kwamba Wakenya wote watapata heshima, ile dignity, kupitia kuwa na pahali kunaitwa kwake.
So far, over 300,000 Kenyans have registered on the Mboya portal, with more than 30,000 actively saving to buy their preferred affordable housing unit. Alan Oko, the government scorecard.
Bit of politics now. The Azimio la Umoja Kenya has had its fair share of run-ins with the ruling Kenya Kwanza counterpart in the political arena that led to disagreements, demonstrations, and even fueled intolerance in the country following the outcome of the 2022 general poll. This series of events has now led to the two leading political factions to the table to settle their political differences and also to address the deep-rooted mistrust among them. Our reporter Abdiaziz Hashim traces the opposition's political footprint 1 year later.
To the people of Kenya, this is a momentous occasion for our country. Our politics and our elections have never failed to be emotive, engaging, and dramatic.
Since President William Ruto took over the reins of power and became the country's fifth head of state, the outcome of the 2022 general election proved to be a bitter pill to swallow for the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya led by Raila Amolo Odinga.
I repeat, the figures announced by Mr. Chebukati are null and void and must be quashed by a court of law.
This prompted the opposition chief to call for the audit of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission IBC service for months on end. However, that proved to be an uphill task for the opposition as the Apex Court ruled on the matter with finality.
The Supreme Court ruled in favor of Kenya Kwanza, something that we respected and we never agreed.
We did take our matters to court, especially on the issue of the presidential election results. And the court upheld the results to our dissatisfaction.
Before
the 9th of August last year, where we were working to form the government. And when we were not able to form the government as it were pronounced by the Supreme Court, we took on the role of the opposition.
The ODM leader, alongside his core principles, decided to go back to the electorate and devise their next course of action, following the outcome at the corridors of justice.
You say we are going to assemble at the Central Park in the city of Nairobi and march to the IBC headquarters.
Numerously, the opposition wing held rallies at the historic Kamukunji grounds, where they called on their supporters to turn up in large numbers to protest the rising cost of living that was proving to be a headache for many Kenyans.
Nataka gharama ya maisha fanye nini? Simuko tayari? Simuko tayari?
And when a section of the citizenry took to the streets, tear gas canisters, clobbers, and arrests were the order of the day. Dozens were injured whilst others lost their lives in the process. The nationwide demos also saw hundreds arrested for destabilizing peace in the country. The 3 cycles of the demonstration forced the 2 ruling coalitions to come to the table through an appointed parliamentary bipartisan team led by Rarieda Member of Parliament Otiende Amolo of Azimio and Kenya Kwanza's Tharaka MP George Murugara.
That action made the ruling regime to agree to sit down with us to try and address the issues that bedevil the country.
We stopped Mandamano, and the team led by Otiende Amolo and the likes went into the talks.
So in terms of getting the people's agenda on the table, I would quickly say that we have been successful.
The talks lasted for a few months after both parties failed to reach an agreement.
Mazungumzo yaendelee na maandamano sambamba.
The event saw religious leaders, professional and human rights bodies urging both political factions to forego their grandstandings and engage in dialogue. The clarion call reverberated across the country and led to President William Ruto and ODM leader Raila Amolo Odinga to meet under the guise of former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo.
To enter into a constitutional, open-ended and binding dialogue with this government to find a resolution to the issues that we in Azimio have raised about the last year's election and the key governance and the cost of living issues facing our country.
The meeting between the 3 birthed what is known now as the National Dialogue Committee that is expected to settle the political differences between the 2 factions.
And here we are at Bomas, trying to address those issues in a bipartisan manner.
Initially, you know that KK had said there are no talks, we are not going to have even cost of living on the table and all those kind of things. But the fact that we are now coming from a national dialogue.
The new bipartisan talks are led by Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka and National Assembly's Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah.
As far as Azimio la Umoja One Kenya is concerned, our teams have been ready.
We have also indicated that we are here to engage in good faith, in line with our laws and our constitution.
All eyes are now on the 10-member committee that is expected to end the political intolerance witnessed in the country for the last 365 days. It remains to be seen if the talks between Azimio and Kenya Kwanza will bear fruit or intensify their political rivalry, despite many Kenyans hoping that that will not be the case. Abdiaziz Hashim for the Government Scorecard.
Na Ndudhi officially, Ndudhi iko ndani ya one of the boxes ya Lucky Game. Cheza Lucky Game, kumbuka ni star 570 hash. Chagua Lucky Game, kisha chagua one of the boxes kati ya hizo 7. Weka stakes zako isiwe chini ya 20 shillings na isizidi 2000 Kenyan shillings. Zawadi ziko kem. Kiwapo pia Ndudhi tumeingiza mahali pale Vurumisha na star 570 hash.
You're saying Casey is a bad person and she brought me to see you.
Mom, kuna vitu zingine unajua bado ni mtoto utaelewa, ya?
Naongea naye.
Who are you to question me, Casey? Get out of my way. So, ulikuja na nani kwangu?
Na baadaye
Kuna mambo yanaendelea hapa ndani na sio mazuri.
Rick atakuja kwa event?
Why do you care?
It's okay, you don't want to tell me why Mom left.
Hannah, come on. Not again.
Welcome back, and let's now look at the business stories. Nairobi residents are set to benefit from a climate-smart urban development project after the UK government committed to prioritize Nairobi City Railway as part of its Africa agenda. Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, who is on an official 3-day visit to the UK, says Kenya's government will continue to collaborate with like-minded partners, both locally and also on the global front. Why? To improve the lives of Kenyans.
In a plan by the Kenyan government to modernize the face of the Nairobi transport system, the multi-modal project in Nairobi County will not only decongest the city, but also create thousands of jobs for the youth.
This is not just about the horizontal movement of people, but it's about completely altering the economic activity around the railway station.
Early this month, the UK Minister of State in the Commonwealth and Development, Andrew Mitchell, launched the 28 billion shillings Nairobi Railway City project. This week, Prime CS Musalia Mudavadi is in the United Kingdom, meeting senior government officials to conclude the funding model.
It is our desire that with the funding that we are going to get from the UK government, we should be able to achieve a similar feat around the Nairobi Railway City. And this will be able to have activities that would bring together about 30,000 people every day at the Nairobi railway station.
UK Rail Minister Theo Clark says the UK is keen on fostering such partnerships that will position Kenya as a regional transport hub. The UK government further says the project will have a positive impact on the economy. Mudavadi is accompanied by various government officials to the UK trip, where various bilateral agreements have been signed.
As the state law office, we confirm that we are ready and willing at all times to cooperate and assist where need be to move the process faster.
Trevor Ngindo for Prime Edition.
Public-private partnerships are key to increasing broadband connectivity and addressing the digital divide that Africa faces. This is according to Telkom Kenya Chief Executive Officer Mugo Kebati, who called on delegates at the International Telecommunication Week Africa and those in technology space to play a much, much bigger role in e-waste management through recycling or safe disposal of equipment at their end of their lifespan.
International Telecommunications Week Africa kicked off in Nairobi with a call on those in the technology space to do more in environmental conservation. For instance, there are 16 billion mobile phones and 1/3 are no longer in operation, while only 20% of them are recycled. Therefore, speakers at the conference said technology is among the biggest polluters and should do more in embracing circular economy practices that involve repair and recycling, as well as good disposal of end-of-life equipment.
Carbon neutral goals are a critical part of sustainability environmental management. It is important to encourage data center sustainability through use of technology in enhancing data center carbon neutral goals. The ministry and the country indeed will be very interested in the outcome of the panel discussions on this topic, as it is one of the areas that is key, since data centers are critical infrastructures in the storage and management of data elements.
They believe public-private partnerships are key in unlocking funding to expand broadband connectivity and to reduce the digital divide.
Where I think we have a lot more to do is data.
broadband connectivity. Because broadband connectivity is what gives you access to the internet. That's what allows you to live socially, professionally on the internet, to get education services, consultancy services, medical, healthcare services, to be able to order in, order out, or even have telemedicine in the most remote parts of the country. For that to happen, we do need to enhance our broadband connectivity. And that's why the program the government is undertaking to both, and the mobile companies, I think mobile connectivity, we now have data across the country. We don't have sufficient devices.
In addition, they are also advocating for a single digital market across Africa in order to eliminate barriers to trade and communication.
It is really in our interest to ensure that we ensure that our people benefit to the extent possible from the technologies that are emerging.
The International Telecommunications Week Africa aims to bridge the gap between businesses, foster collaborations, and facilitate partnerships that will drive the continent's connectivity. The government has prioritized the digital economic transformation under its pillars, and this has seen the country host the inaugural International Telecommunications Week, where stakeholders are rallying efforts towards bridging the gap that has led to the digital divide in terms of broadband connectivity. Reporting for Prime Edition, my name is Nduta Mukami.
You'll be better protected from unscrupulous digital lenders after the relaunch of regulations and a code of conduct by the Digital Financial Services Association of Kenya. Digital Financial Services Association of Kenya Chair Kevin Mutiso plans to leverage the Data Protection Act to address customer complaints.
Financial Services Association of Kenya says about 8 million Kenyans borrow 10 billion shillings monthly from digital lenders.
As you can see, we've been leading the pack about thinking about consumer protection and consumer and financial literacy. And as a result of that, 2023, we can say that Kenya is still way ahead of most markets in the world when it comes to policy around that.
For too long, the tech industry, not just in Kenya, but across Africa, has not paid enough attention to policy and regulatory stuff. I think that has changed. That will continue to change.
During the unveiling of SasaPay's growth strategy, speakers underscored the role of financial technologies in fostering financial inclusion.
We are here today to refresh our brand and unveil new strategy that will help us deliver innovation, payment solutions that offer multilateral advantage to our customer, partners, and stakeholders.
It's clear that the digital economy is on the rise, but the challenges like limited access to digital banking, costly and slow cross-border transactions still do persist, especially for Kenyans in the diaspora.
The competitive fintech space has seen companies like SasaPay rebrand and launch new areas of focus to retain and attract consumers. Alanauko, Prime Edition.
There's been an increase in inquiries to the Port of Lamu from international humanitarian organizations with operations in the Horn of Africa region. This is according to Lamu Port General Manager Engineer Vincent Sidai, who says that among institutions making inquiries is USAID, who consider the facility for bulk food importation and an avenue to reduce transport costs.
The 310 billion shillings Lamu port was operationalized in May of 2021 in an event that saw MV Cap Carmel from Singapore making a maiden call on the facility. 2 years on, the Port of Lamu received its first ever bulk cargo ship, MV African, from Djibouti.
And there's a lot of excitement to everyone and the local community here. They have got a lot of business opportunity which has been created here with only one vessel which has come here. We have a lot of trucks still waiting to carry the cargo. So far we've discharged over 3,500 tons of food.
Tunasema Lamu is on the go na Mungu ametupendelea kuwa na hii port na tayari mumesikia hiyo meli kubwa imefika Tayari kuna ajira kidogo imepatikana, lakini huu tu ni mwanzo.
The Port of Lamu has been termed as a major transshipment facility that is expected to serve different countries in the Horn of Africa region. SIDAI says that they have received a number of inquiries due to the strategic location of the port, especially from humanitarian organizations with operations in the Horn of Africa region.
Kwa hivyo hiyo ni kitu mzuri sana kwa jamii na Wakenya kwa jumla, kwa sababu kutapatikana ajira mingi na biashara zitazidi kupanuka.
So far, 44 vessels have checked on the Port of Lamu. Regina Manyara reporting for Prime Edition.
Kirinyaga County government has earmarked 9 stores where farmers who buy the subsidized fertilizer will collect the farm input instead of the National Cereals and Produce Board depot in Sagana. Crop Development Principal Secretary Kelo Harsama, who inspected registration of farmers for the subsidized fertilizer program at Kamigwa Kutus, that's in Kirinyaga County, welcomed the decision by the devolved unit, noting that it would help reduce the cost of transport and also save on time.
Kurejista wakulima wote katika Kenya, kwa sababu tunataka kuwafanyia mpango njema ya kuhakikisha ni njia gani tunaweza kusaidia wakulima. Lakini hatuwezi saidia wakulima kama hatujajua idadi yao ni ngapi.
In efforts to build climate resilience and ensure food security, the Ministry of Education and a retailer have rolled out adaptation sensitization campaign to instill farming knowledge among learners. The program, dubbed Kilimo Shuleni, is designed to equip learners with drip irrigation skills and also build climate resilience.
As efforts to combat food insecurity gather momentum, agricultural experts and enthusiasts have shifted focus to empowerment programs which are geared towards providing a long-lasting solution. The Asal Kajiado County was among the most affected counties by the recent drought that resulted in massive loss of livestock. However, in efforts to combat this, Ministry of Education, in partnership with Quickmart Supermarket, has rolled out a program aimed at empowering learners in schools and a program dubbed Kilimo Shuleni, which seeks to boost learners' food security and breed skills among locals in Kajiado.
We'll teach the students how to farm and plant husbandry. So we'll teach them the crops that will do well here. We'll plant them enough to sustain them through a school term. And if and when the students produce more that they can consume.
This is a program that is self-sustaining. It is a program that also will teach not just the students in this school, but also the community around.
Drip irrigation will be practiced on a 5-acre piece of land with agronomy experts set to train learners.
Hii ndio njia ya kuelekea. Hii ndio njia ya mwafaka wa kuhakikisha kwamba vijana wetu wanaposoma shuleni pia wanapata taaluma za kuwaendesha katika kilimo bora na kilimo biashara.
They'll have a drip irrigation system. They will fence the land for them, and we'll also train them using a qualified agronomist.
Ministry of Education officials said retention of learners in schools reduces during drought periods, which adversely affect education. Frederick Muki for Prime Edition.
Rugby Shujaa squad has been named. Daniel Wahome with the details on the other side of the studio.
These are the moments we live for every Friday as we catch up with the world of football.
Manchester City go in front.
With your favorite stars in rivalries like no other that keeps you on the edge of your seat. Learn a few tricks that keep you ahead of the game and spice it all with unforgettable moments on Dunda Dunda. On Saturday, you're in for another treat as we rock your weekend with all sporting disciplines, bringing you insights on what's happening behind the scenes as we share players and athlete stories, preparations, and celebrate their achievements.
Charging to the line! Is it going to be a world record? Yes, it is! She smashed it!
Whatever angle you look at, we've got you covered. KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
A very good evening to you. My name is Daniel Rohom and welcome to Prime Edition Sport. Now, the national soccer team, the Harambee Stars, went down by a goal to nil against South Sudan in an international friendly match played this evening at the Kasarani Stadium. Tito Okello netted the lone goal in the second minute of the match. The team missed the services of defender Johnston Omurwa, who helped the Kenyan side secure a 2-1 victory against Qatar in their previous friendly match played last week in Doha, Qatar. The player had to return to his Portuguese Primeira Liga side Estrela de Amadora for a pivotal match against Porto. The team, coached by Engin Firat, is preparing for the World Cup qualifiers due to start in November. The Stars will open their campaign against Gabon on the 13th of November, followed by a match against the Seychelles.
He was so nervous. I don't know if it's because we are after 2 years first time home. I don't know why. So we make very simple mistakes, and in the end also, if you think Joseph Okumu is one of the best we have, and he never makes a mistake like this, it happens. This is football.
Our target cannot be more than in this moment. We need to continue to progress.
Now, 6 new faces have been named in the National Rugby Sevens team that will take part in this weekend. Rugby Africa Sevens in Harare, Zimbabwe. The tournament also serves as the African qualification tournament for the Rugby Sevens competition at the 2024 Olympic Games in Paris, France.
Field high, deep kick.
National Rugby Sevens team will be hoping to book a ticket for next year's Olympic Games in Paris, France, when they take part in the Rugby Africa Sevens tournament in Zimbabwe this weekend. Head coach Kevin Wambua named his final squad today and included 6 new faces.
How we want to approach this tournament again, we want to take it a game at a time, play every game like a final. I know everybody here is focused about South Africa, but we have to beat the other teams in the pool first before we meet South Africa.
They include KCB's duo Samuel Asati and Festus Shiasi, Menengai Oilers Beldad Ogeta, Daystar Falcons flyer Patrick Odongo, Cabras Sugars William Mwanji, as well as Strathmore Leos Nigel Amaisa. Vincent Onyala makes a comeback in the team after being sidelined in the 2022-2023 World Rugby Sevens Series through injury. He returns to co-captain the side along with another experienced campaigner, Tony Omondi. Onyala is among other 4 regulars who make up the 12-man team to Harare. The others are Kevin Wekesa, Brian Tanga, John Okoth and George Ooro. The Kenyan team will face Nigeria, Namibia and Zambia in the continental event.
Now, Kenyan boxer Peter Abuti has qualified for the quarterfinals of the Paris 2024 Boxing Africa qualifiers in Dakar, Senegal, after beating Hazem Abdelatif of Egypt via a unanimous point decision. Abuti now moves to the quarterfinals, where he will meet Gabriel Albino Julio of Mozambique. Meanwhile, Kenya's David Macharia also qualified for the next round after he defeated Thibaut Justin Ngabadame of Central African Republic in the flyweight preliminary bout. In the bout, Kenya's Pauline Chege lost her featherweight preliminary bout on points to home girl Mariatou Diablo of Senegal.
Round 2.
Now, the national men's volleyball team Wafalme finished 9th at the Men's African Nations Championship in Cairo, Egypt, after defeating Ghana by 3-2 in the 9th place final match played today. The Kenyan team, coached by Gideon Tarus, won in sets of 25-19, 25-21, 18-25, 30-32, and 16-14. The team qualified for the 9th place final after beating Senegal 3-0 last evening in the semi-finals. Meanwhile, host Egypt defeated Cameroon by 3-1 to book a place in the finals of the continental event, while Algeria also booked a place in the finals after beating Libya by 3-2. The grand finale of the continental event will be held where Libya will take on Cameroon in the 3rd place playoff, while host Egypt faced Algeria in the final match. Now, Diogo Jota scored a brace as Portugal thrashed Luxembourg 9-0 without suspended Cristiano Ronaldo to maintain their Euro 2024 qualification record. Meanwhile, Wales secured a much-needed 2-0 win over Latvia to add to their ailing 2024 campaign as Croatia won 1-0 over Armenia in Group D.
With 3 games to spare if they win against Slovakia on 13th October. In Armenia versus Croatia, Andrej Kramaric scored the only goal of the match.
And that's the sport on Prime Edition tonight. And, it's a Tuesday. Normally, we do have the scorecard, but it's not coming on tonight because tomorrow we're doing the government scorecard, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. John Jacob Kuria and Regina Manyara will be in Nairobi. We've got Simon Achola in Kisumu and Anboro in Mombasa. What are the achievements of the government that is in place today, 1 year on? Look out for that because that's what's happening on Prime Edition tomorrow. So do not miss that edition of our broadcast. My name is Daniel Wahome. Over to you, Mboya.
Good job, Daniel. Well, we've got to go now. I want to thank you on behalf of the Prime Edition team for watching. My name is Mboya. I'm wishing you a pleasant viewing. Good night from Nairobi, Kenya.
Officially Nudi iko ndani ya one of the boxes ya Lucky Game. Cheza Lucky Game. Kumbuka ni *570#. Chagua Lucky Game. Kisha chagua one of the boxes kati ya hizo